guys, welcome back to my channel. I can't believe I'm finally sitting down to do this vlog. I've been meaning to do it for a good week now, but it's just having a newborn around is not always the easiest thing to sit down and do. But today is going to be the story of my birth. You might have just seen just now some little snippets of bits and pieces of Kyla and her birth and meeting her brother. But we didn't vlog very much during the experience because I wasn't sure if I wanted to vlog the experience before I went into labour, and then when I went into labour I just thought it was just such a healing experience for Kyle and I that I didn't want to be interrupted by the camera. So yeah, I just thought I'd sit down and talk to you about it instead, which is just as special. Okay, so when I last left off with you guys, I had just seen my obstetrician and been told that my amniotic fluids were actually quite low for little Kyla, and I was having some sort of contractions during the day. So to pick up from where the story left off, Wednesday night I started having quite regular contractions. They woke me up at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and they kept going and going and going every 6 to 8 minutes. They were painful, oh darling, but not painful enough that I couldn't talk through them. Like, I was having to practice my calm birthing techniques. I put some music on. I was having to really distract myself during the contractions, and I rang the hospital at probably about 3:30 in the morning. Kyle was at work as well, and I told him what had been happening, and I just said, look, I'm a second time mum, I'm trying for a Vbac and I've been having contractions all night, what should I do? And the lady was like, if you're still okay to sit through them, then just hang tight, try and get as much rest as you can, and call us if they get any worse. And I said okay. She just told me to rest, so I did. I hopped off the phone. I told Kyle I was going to put my phone down and just try and sleep, and I did. I napped through them, but the contractions were waking me up. Probably about 6 o'clock in the morning I looked at my phone and they had really died off. They had gone to like maybe every 20 minutes to half an hour, which was fine. And then about 6:30 I got up to go to the toilet, because you do that all the time while you're pregnant, and my mucus plug had come out. So I was like, okay, something's happening. I started to get a bit excited, but the contractions started off again, so I just left it. I just went around my normal morning routine. Kyle went to bed after night shift. William and I just hung out at home for the morning, and then at about 8:30 in the morning, so this is Thursday, Kyle's 30th birthday as well, the midwives called me from the hospital. Mind you, they hadn't had any indication that anything was wrong with my obstetrician the day before. They were just following up because I called overnight. They just said, how are you feeling? And I told them that they were coming every half an hour to 20 minutes, and they said, well, why don't you just come into the hospital just for some monitoring, we'll just make sure you and baby are okay. And I said, all right. So I didn't wake Kyle up. I just packed William up, jumped in the car, and went down to the hospital to get some monitoring. I just want to say that I had presented to the hospital quite a few times in the last few weeks of my pregnancy for decreased fetal movement, because I had an anterior placenta, so they were just being like more cautious than anything. So anyway, got to the hospital, jumped on the monitoring, and during the time that I was there, little baby girl had a decel in her heart rate. So she dropped her heart rate quite low, and it was there for a little bit of time, and it came back up. And because of that, they wanted to call my obstetrician. So they called my obstetrician. My obstetrician came in from home. This was probably about, 11 o'clock in the morning. She said to me, okay, this has never happened before. She's never had a decel in her heart rate while we've monitored her. So do you mind if I do another ultrasound? And I said, yep, okay, no worries. So she ultrasounded my tummy, and she was ultrasounding for probably about 15 minutes. And I said, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? And I was starting to get a little bit panicked at that stage. And my obstetrician said, look, she's okay, but since yesterday, since I've seen you, you've pretty much run out of amniotic fluid. She's like, there is barely anything in there. And I just started crying, and I was just like, what do we do? Like, is everything okay? Is she gonna be okay? And she's like, she's gonna be okay, but we just need to get her out. And I was just like, okay, we're having a C-section right now. I need to call Kyle. Like, this is just what's going on in my head. And I said to her, okay, do we need to have a C-section? She's like, I don't think so right now. She's like, we might. But she's like, what I want you to do is go home, get everything ready, come back at 5 o'clock, and we're going to induce you tonight. And I was just like, what is going on? I was scared and excited, and just couldn't believe it was finally happening. So I got in the car, and I hadn't texted Kyle, I hadn't texted anyone to let them know that I was in hospital, because I didn't think it was such a big deal. And Kyle messaged me, said, hey babe, how you feeling? So I called him, and I was just in tears on the phone, both happy and nervous tears, and a bit scared because my fluid levels were so low. And I said, look babe, everything's fine, but we need to get baby out, so we're going to go to the hospital tonight and have an induction. And he's like, okay, cool, come home and we'll get everything sorted. I got home, I spent the last couple of hours with Will, I don't even know why I'm getting sad now because I didn't get sad before. Got my hospital bag ready. We then went to Carl's parents and dropped Will off, which I surprisingly didn't cry. I thought I was going to, but I didn't. And then we drove to the hospital, and like it was just the most surreal experience going, holy shit, I'm going to the hospital to meet my daughter. So anyway, I got there and my obstetrician met me there at about 5:30. They popped in a balloon catheter. For those who don't know, a balloon catheter is when they put a like catheter inside your vajayjay, and the balloon goes on one side of your cervix and down to the other. And by this stage, I was 2 centimeters dilated by myself, and the hope was that this balloon was going to get me to 4 centimeters dilated overnight, and then in the morning what they were going to do is break my waters, or lack of waters that they were, and start the induction in the morning. So anyway, they popped in the catheter and everything was fine. It was pretty uncomfortable, like not painful, but just uncomfortable, to be honest. And Kyle and I had dinner at the hospital. They put on like a birthday dinner for Kyle because it was his 30th birthday and we were in the hospital. I felt so bad. But anyway, that happens. We were in the labour ward at that stage, and they moved us back to our bedroom. It was a double room. I was at a private hospital and it was absolutely amazing. Probably at about 7 o'clock, 7:30, I started getting contractions, and they were like getting more intense and more painful and closer together. And the midwives were like, it's okay, let's just see how you go. If they get any more intense, any closer together, we'll take you back to the birthing suite and monitor you for a little while. I'm like, okay. But they're like, just get some rest. And Kyle was like, just get some rest. And I was like, there is no way how the hell I am resting right now. Like, I just need to get up. I need to stand up. I put my headphones in. I was listening to my music. I was breathing, doing my meditation techniques. And then I have this beautiful group of girlfriends who I called my baby A team. So I was on Facebook on my group, texting them, and you know, all having a bit of a laugh and a bit of distraction between my contractions. And then it got to about, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they finally started subsiding, and I hopped into bed with my TENS machine on and I tried to get some sleep, and surprisingly I did. I got to sleep till about, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock. When I woke up, the contractions were happening probably every 20 minutes again, 20 minutes to half an hour. And I went to the toilet at about 6 and the balloon catheter fell out, which I was like, oh my god, what the hell? I wasn't expecting that, which was an awesome sign. It meant that my cervix had dilated overnight, which was great. So that came out, and then at about 7 o'clock we went over to the birthing suite, which was just so crazy because just before we went there, the midwife came in and was like, okay, what's the first outfit? Like, let's do this. And I was like, holy shit, like I had to get a nappy out, I got a swaddle out, I got, like, it was just such a crazy moment having to do that. But you know, we walked over there and they did some monitoring. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, my obstetrician came in and broke my waters, but nothing came out, like absolutely nothing. She wasn't even sure that I had actually had my waters broken, so they had to go in my vajayjay with like some sort of tong instruments and try and pull some of the membranes out just to make sure that the membrane had been ruptured. And it had, but there was literally like not even a tiny trickle. There was nothing that came out. So my obstetrician was like, okay, like this is the right thing to do. And we had a chat about using a medication called, I think it's called Syntocin, to help bring on your contractions. And we talked about the risks and benefit to have that because I was a Vbac. And me, Kyle, and my obstetrician made the decision that we would use a small amount of Syntocin. So that went on at about 8:30. I started having contractions pretty much immediately, and they were pretty intense. I will just say too that I was 5 centimeters dilated when my obstetrician broke my waters. Contractions happened pretty much straight away, and they were like getting more intense. Using my calm birthing techniques, I was leaning on the bed. Kyle was being amazing. He was talking me through it. He was just being so supportive, amazing, passing me some water through it. And probably about an hour and a half went by. So about 9:30, my obstetrician came down to check on me, and she could see that I was actually in labor, and that was fine. Everything went down, and then probably within about 15 minutes of seeing her, the pain went from like, you know, it was there to being like crazy painful. I don't want to scare anybody here. I'm just telling my own experience. But it was just getting to the point where I was like, okay, all right, this is getting intense. I'm going to need some help. So I asked for the gas, and I was using that for a short period of time, but it just wasn't helping at all. Like the pain was very intense. It was like right at the front of my tummy. No back pain, nothing like that. And the gas wasn't working. I tried techniques. Kyle was like, I think he was like rubbing my back. He put my TENS machine back on, put it on really high, and that helped a little bit. And then he started reading my birth affirmations, which didn't really help, to be honest. Like I just was in that much pain. I couldn't really focus. I was having a really hard time trying to, you know, bring myself back to like what was happening. The contractions were happening like every 2 minutes, and I wasn't getting a break in between them. So it was just really hard. And I just remember a very short time later going, okay, I've had enough, I need an epidural. And my birth plan was not to have an epidural. So my midwife, who was phenomenal, she was amazing, and Kyle were both like, are you sure this is what you want? And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not enjoying this. Like, I'm getting scared. Like, I feel like I'm punishing myself for something. I want to be able to enjoy my daughter's birth. So my midwife called my obstetrician, and Kyle was just trying his best to try and keep me calm, keep me focused, and, you know, get me through the contractions. My obstetrician came down a very short time later, and she could see that I just wasn't coping very well. And she's like, okay. She's like, you look like you are a woman who's in transition right now, which is when you go from, like, you know, dilating to about to push the baby out, I think. And she's like, do you mind if I examine you? Because if you're ready to push, like, there's going to be no time for an epidural. And I was like, okay, because I really wasn't coping very well at all with the pain. Got on the bed, we did an examination, and in an hour and a half's time, I went from 5 centimeters to 8 centimeters. So, like, I was, like, fully in active labor. And again, there was absolutely no relief between the contractions. Like, every 2 minutes, like, as soon as it would stop, it would start again. And I was just exhausted. I was tired, even though it had only been a short period of time. I hadn't slept very well for the last 2 nights, and I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. So I said, Sarah, please, I need an epidural. And she's like, okay, let's do this. It took an hour for the anaesthetist to get there and give me an epidural, and that hour of my life was just like the most intense thing that I've ever been through in my life. Like, it taught me so much about myself, about Kyle. I had at that point given up. Like, I'd given up on the pain, I'd given up on my calm birthing techniques. I was like struggling really badly to get through the pain. Like, I can't even describe what it was like, and I feel so silly saying this because it was like such a short period of time to be in labor, but the pain was just intense. And I was like praying to God. I was like, please, someone help me, I can't do this. I was crying. Like, I remember at one point grabbing Kyle, looking him like dead in the eyes and going, babe, please, you've got to help me. I can't do this anymore. And he's like, babe, it's okay, help's coming. And I feel like so dramatic saying this, but it was just like, it felt terrible. Like, I just was like, nope. And like I said, because I had already like gone, okay, I'm having the epidural, the pain needs to go away now, I had just given up. And I was just like, I was in the bed, like I was rolling around in pain. Like, it was just, oh, terrible. Anyway, the anesthetics doctor finally got there, and I was like, oh my God, thank God. And then I had to sit on the edge of the bed, and I had to have my back in like a C shape so they could get the epidural in. But I was in so much pain I couldn't move. Like, I'm like, I can't get up. Like, I couldn't even talk to tell them I couldn't get up. Like, and so I remember Kyle and the anaesthetist actually like physically sat me up, crouched me over, and they like, Kyle had the gas in my mouth, and he's like, babe, just breathe deeply, you need to get through this. And I remember the anaesthetist was like, Candice, you have got to stay still. Like, this is like a really big procedure. We've got to get this done. Otherwise, if you move, well, I've got this needle in your back. And like, being a nurse, I understood, but I was just like, far out, man. Like, I just don't know if I can do this. But the only way I got through the epidural was like, I was laying there. Kyle was like standing right in front of me. He was holding my hands. He was saying really nice things to me. I can't really remember what they were, but I do remember that he was being amazing and sweet, you know, massaging me and doing all this beautiful stuff. He was just honestly incredible. Kyle, oh my goodness, he was amazing. But anyway, I just was like, I need to sit still. And I'm like, okay, I don't pray very often at all, like not much at all. And I was like, okay, the only way I'm going to get through this is if I pray to God. So I just remember like leaning over, holding on to Kyle, like breathing with, he had the gas in my mouth, and I was just like, God, please let me get through this. Please give me strength. Please help me. Please help get me out of pain. Please help me stay still. Like, I just remember repeatedly praying to God for however long it took to get the epidural in. And then all of a sudden the epidural was in, and the anaesthetist was like, okay, about 15 minutes time you should get relief. And I remember thinking, 15 minutes? This is going to take 15 minutes. Do you know how many contractions I'm having in 15 minutes? This is what was going on in my head. And then all of a sudden I felt this beautiful, warm, tingling sensation running down my legs. And I was like, yep, this epidural is working. And then the contractions just started to subside. And I just came out of this fog and this haze, and I was like, oh, hi everybody. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like that was crazy. Like, who the hell was I? Who was that woman that I was just, you know, wailing about for the last hour of my life? Like, I was just like, holy shit, And then just the fog cleared and I was like, thank you so much. And then I started crying because like everyone was so amazing. Like my obstetrician, my midwife, Kyle, the anaesthetist, like I'm like hugging everyone, like thank you so much. Thank you for getting me through that. I don't know how you did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was crazy. But the epidural went in and Sarah did another examination. So I think it had been just over an hour since we had done one, and I was still only 8 centimeters dilated, which I'm guessing is because I was just like holding on to every bit of my body was tensing up during those contractions. That was probably at about 11 o'clock in the morning. We were monitoring the baby and I at this point didn't realize there was anything happening. I didn't realize there was any concern. I was just completely out of it and I was exhausted. Like I was beyond tired at this point. Like I was just like, I need to sleep. I need to go to sleep. So then Kyle turned down the music because I had like my tunes pumping really massively in the background because the music really helped me a lot during my labor. It wasn't like calm birthing music at all. It was like my everyday music that I love listening to because I love music so much. Like I'm always singing and dancing around. Oh my god, can you hear her? Oh my god, I love her so much. After the epidural went in, I just went to sleep. Like I was just floating in and out of awakeness. And I remember my obstetrician kept coming in and was checking on me, and I think in 2 hours time I got to 9 centimeters dilated. Another hour after that I was 9 centimeters dilated. Then I had like the lip of my cervix hadn't, I don't know, gone yet, so I wasn't able to like fully push. And at that point my obstetrician was like, okay, like, the baby is starting to get in a little bit of distress. If we don't get much happening in the next little while, like we're gonna have to maybe think about our options. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't panicked. I was like nice and calm. I was fully trusted in my obstetrician. Kyle and I were there for each other. Like he was being phenomenal. So I was like, okay, no worries. Like I didn't have the drip running at this stage either. I will just say I did have that turned off when I made the decision to have the epidural because my body was just in fully active labor. So anyway, my obstetrician was like, okay, so let's just do another hour and we'll see how we go. We'll see how far dilated you are in an hour's time and we'll reassess. And I'm like, okay, cool. So this was probably at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She came back at about, I don't know, just past 3, and she examined me again and she's like, okay, you are 10 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, what? Like I've never been 10 centimeters dilated before. Like I was attempting a Vbac. This was just like completely new territory to me. I was like, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm pushing now? Like I don't know. The good thing about the epidural, I will say as well, is like I still felt all the contractions. Like I felt the pressure. I felt all the bits down in my hoo-ha, but it just took away all the pain. It just took away all the pain and I could feel the contractions happening. And she's like, look, next contraction, I just want you to give me like a little push. And she's like, I'm going to see if you can bring the head down, because even though I was 10 centimeters dilated, baby's head was still quite high up in my birthing canal, and she was just a bit worried that she wasn't going to get through. At this point my obstetrician was like, look, baby has been having some decelerations in her heart rate. She's like, nothing to be concerned about during that time, but she's like, if we can't get this head down into the birthing canal, we might have to have a C-section. And I was like, okay. And again, I was really calm. I'm like, yep, all right, no worries. So I had the contraction came, I laid down and I gave like a really big push, and my obstetrician was like, okay, I think we can do this. I think we can get her out. She's like, we may need to use some intervention, some forceps or the vacuum. And Kyle were like, okay, you know, that's fine. I wasn't gonna really feel it anyway, so I wasn't scared or anything like that. Then it was ready. Like my obstetrician was like, okay, it's time that we meet this baby. And I was like, what the hell? Like I was just like, okay, I can't believe this is happening. I was so excited. I was really nervous as well. I still didn't really have a lot of faith in myself. Well, I did, but I was just a bit scared. They got me into the position to push, which I had like my legs up in stirrups, my back like semi sitting up. And then all of a sudden I just got like this wave of exhaustion come over me. Like I just was falling asleep while the obstetrician was talking to me, while Kyle was talking to me. And then it was actually quite a funny moment. Like I remember obstetrician tapping my leg. She's like, Candice. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, this is not the time for calm birthing techniques. She's like, get your music on, pump up some tunes, someone go get this girl some lemonade, you're gonna drink it, you're gonna get your energy hit, and we're gonna push this baby out. She's like, this is not the time to relax, this is go time now. And I was like, okay, shit, let's do this. So then Kyle's like, do you want me to put your playlist back on? I'm like, yep, let's do this. And then all of a sudden he put on Beyonce. Like, the song Formation came on, and like he blasted it to get me like amped up. They gave me some like solo, and I drank that down, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And my obstetrician's like sitting there with my legs up and her head's just like right there. She's like, you're gonna push this baby out to this music. I'm like, yep, let's do this. She's like, right, okay, next contraction, push. So then the contraction came and I started pushing, which was, I couldn't feel anything at first. Like the first part of the pushing, I didn't feel like I was pushing anything out. I couldn't feel anything apart from the contraction pressure. And I kept saying to my obstetrician between the contractions, is anything happening? She's like, yep, you're pushing really well. She's like, keep focusing. In between each contraction, Kyle was like, you know, patting my head down. He was, you know, giving me kisses on the forehead, giving me more drink. Like, he was just being freaking awesome and just really trying to keep me awake, because I don't know why, but I just had this intense want to go to sleep between each contraction. Like, it was just exhausting. It got to the point where I could actually feel Kyla coming out. Like, I could feel there was something pushing down there and I needed to get it out. I could feel her head coming further and further down the birth canal, and there was a point where my obstetrician, I said to her, are we out of the woods with the cesarean? She's like, yes. She's like, you are pushing this baby out. The C-section is off the table. She's like, I can see her head. She's like, do you want to feel her head? And I was like, no. And she said to Kyle, do you want to feel the head? And he's like, no. And she's like, do you want to come and watch the baby being born? And he's like, no. And he's like, no, I'm right, I'm staying up this end. Anyway, at that point, like, every contraction I was like holding onto Kyle's hands, like pushing and pushing and pushing. And all of a sudden Sarah's like, okay, when I tell you to stop pushing, you need to stop pushing. She's like, just, we don't want to get any tears. I'm like, okay. And then one contraction, she was like, okay, stop pushing. And I had stopped pushing, and all of a sudden I felt like this pop, and like the baby's head was out. Like, I was birthing this baby. I was like, what the hell? And my obstetrician was like, oh my God, she's got a hair. And I was like, what? And I didn't want to look down there. I was too scared to look. She's like, do you want to feel the baby's head? I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And she's like, okay, with the next contraction, you're probably going to deliver the body. Do you want to deliver the baby? And I was like, no, just bring her to me. I don't want to do any of that. And all of a sudden, next contraction came and I pushed her out. My obstetrician's like, grab your baby. And I just remember like grabbing her and pulling her up, and like I had her like just here, and I just froze for like a couple of seconds, and I looked at Kyle. Before the crying happened, before anything registered that I was having a baby, I was like, it's William. She looked so much like William when she was born. Anyway, I delivered her up to my chest, and I just was like looking at her, and I just thought she was so beautiful, and I was just in complete shock about what I'd just done, and she looked so much like her brother. Oh, it was just the most magical moment of my entire life. When she came out, she was full of mucus. She wasn't breathing very well, but they kept her on my chest and was like giving her a good old rub, and then she started crying, and I just started crying. I was just like, I just can't believe I had done this. I can't believe I had a baby. Like, I can't believe I had a Vbac. I just was like in absolute shock and happiness, and I couldn't believe just how healing the experience was, and how like beautiful it was to be able to have your baby straight away. Because when William was born, I didn't really get to look at him, and he was taken away really quickly. I didn't get to see what he looked like for probably 5 to 10 minutes after he was born, and the fact that I was able to pull her out up onto my chest and just kiss her and have Kyle right there next to me was just the most incredible moment of my life. And looking back on it now, I'm just blown away about how beautiful it was, because for a split moment there it was like I actually birthed my son as well. Because even though I had a C-section with him, I can see how it would have gone, and because she looked so much like her brother when she came out, it was just such a beautiful moment to look back on even now. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. She was born at 3:56 p.m. on the 26th of April 2019. It was absolutely perfect. She was 8 pound 10, 53 centimeters long, and a head circumference of 35 centimeters, which she's just an absolute ball of perfection. I am so in love, and I'm so proud of myself for everything that happened. I did end up having a 1st-degree tear, which needed some stitches, and I had a graze as well. But the recovery from the birth has been quite good, actually. I have had a lot more bleeding than what I did when I had a C-section. I was actually blown away by how quickly I could get up. So I had the epidural, and as soon as she was born, they turned the epidural off. I had like a lot of shivering with the epidural too, so I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I was shivering non-stop, and I was so itchy as well. So they turned that off as soon as she was born, and within 2 hours I was up having a shower, and it was just freaking awesome. Like, I couldn't believe it. In my birth plan, I'd actually asked to have like a golden hour with her, so like no one does anything to her until like the hour had been up. But after about 40 minutes with her, I was so incredibly tired that I just said to Kyle, can you please take her, because I need to have a little bit of a rest. Kyle took her and I slept for probably about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. And then once I woke up, my midwife helped me to go have a shower. It was really weird because like she had to like help wash me and all that sort of stuff, which was just so weird, especially being a nurse. You're not used to that sort of help. But I got dressed and then I went back into the birthing suite, and Kyle and Kyla were right there. And then I just was like, I want William, I want my baby. And I think it was close to 5 by that stage, and Kyle's like, look, I've already rung mum and dad to go and get him from daycare, because he was at daycare for the day. He should be here really soon. But probably about half an hour later I could hear him coming down the corridor, and he walked in and he could see me. I'm like, hi Bubby. I think I was holding the baby, and he came up to me and he's like, what's that? And I said, this is your sister. She's out of mummy's belly now. And one of the first things he asked for was his trains, because I promised him that his little sister would buy him some trains when she came out of my tummy. William wanted a cuddle, and he was just in awe of her. He was besotted by her from the moment that he held her. He was just kissing her, touching her, going, it's okay baby, it's okay. None of this was prompted at all. Like, he just loved her instantly, and that honestly was the most beautiful moment I have ever witnessed. The birth was phenomenal, but that moment was pretty bloody close to being one of the best moments in my life. Seeing my little boy be such a beautiful big brother to his little sister, it was just so beautiful. I'm so proud of myself for the fact that I had a VBAC. It was such a journey, and there's no way I could have done it without Kyle. He was honestly the most incredible support person. I think we bonded so much and so closely because of the birth. We were already very close, but it's just like our relationship has gone to the next level now. My obstetrician was absolutely amazing. My midwives are amazing. Like, it was just, I really had to learn to surrender and trust during this process. I had to just trust that the obstetrician knew what she was doing. I was going to be safe, the baby was going to be safe, and we got the result that we wanted. A safe, beautiful little girl delivered earthside via normal vaginal delivery. The recovery has been pretty good as well. I haven't had like a great deal of pain. I will say there's like a lot of heaviness downstairs in my lady parts, which I didn't experience with the C-section. You know, I'm still bleeding, and I'm almost 2 weeks postpartum, which I stopped bleeding I think maybe 5 or 6 days after having a C-section. I'm able to move around. I'm walking every day for 30 to 40 minutes, and it's absolutely amazing. I am having to wear some SRC recovery shorts though when I'm going for a walk, just to keep everything in. It has been nice not having a C-section, because when you have a C-section, like, you're constantly worried about the scar, and when you sit up and move around it feels very strange. So it has been nice not having to worry about that major abdominal surgery. I wouldn't say one recovery is any easier or harder than the other. They both come with their pros and cons, but I have been fairly well. I've been having some anxiety post birth. The first 3 or 4 days I was fine, but since then I've been feeling a little bit off, but I'll talk about that in another video. Baby Kyla is very different to her brother William. William was a very independent boy from day dot. He would sleep by himself. He was a very quick feeder. He didn't find any comfort with me. Like, I was his food, and he would always settle for other people like Kyle or my mum or Kyle's mum or other people, everyone else except for me. But Kyla is a very much a 4th trimester baby. She just wants to be on mummy all the time. She co-sleeps with me because she refuses to sleep anywhere else but on me every single night. She takes forever to breastfeed. She is such a booby monster. So it's been like a really big adjustment period, because what I thought the newborn days were going to be have been completely opposite to what they have actually been. So it's been a little bit of a struggle, but she's honestly the most beautiful, perfect little thing you've ever seen in your life. So it's not all bad. I can't really remember what else I was going to say. Actually, it's probably what I want to say. During my labor as well, I used my crystals, which really did help for until I got to that point where I couldn't take the pain anymore. And I also brought William's pillow into the hospital as well, and during my contractions before I used the gas, I was actually sniffing my pillow. I know that sounds completely so strange, but William's scent has always brought me comfort. Whenever I can't sleep, I'd often sleep with his sleeping bag or something of his, so I can smell him and it relaxes me. Didn't really use my birth affirmation cards. Kyle had our calm birthing booklet there just to refer back to in case he needed it. I ended up for the last hour on the bed, because once the contractions got like really intense, I just couldn't stand anymore. The pain was just taking my breath away. It was taking my legs away. So I ended up in the bed, and that moment, that hour, like I said, was torture. During that time I was actually vocalizing, which I didn't want to do, but I was using very low monotone like ooh noises through each contraction, and I just honestly get so embarrassed and laugh so much when I think about it right now. Anyway guys, that is all. That is my birth story of my darling little daughter. I really hope that I've actually filmed this okay and all the information's there. I'm just so proud of myself. I am just beyond proud of Kyle, beyond proud of little Kyla and the support team around me. And I just want to say that if you are someone who is wanting a VBAC, my only piece of advice to you is to have faith in yourself and the team around you, and please make sure that you have got a beautiful, trustworthy team around you that you can really put all your faith in, because if you want it, it can happen. That moment of being able to push my baby out was just the most special thing that I've ever encountered. So that's it guys. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll speak to you guys later. Good morning guys. It is Anzac Day today, the 25th of April. It is also Kyle's 30th birthday today and the due date of baby girl. I guess this is kind of like the beginning of my pregnancy vlog. I actually don't know how much I'm going to vlog and how comfortable I feel with it yet, but I'm just bringing the camera along. I'll capture some snippets and maybe pop something together. I just, like I said, don't really know if I'm going to vlog or not. The hospital just rang me and just said, look, do you want to come in for some monitoring just for a little while, just to see how the baby's going, how you're going, we can see what the contractions are looking like and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do. Wish me luck, because I'm taking William in there by myself, which I'm a little bit nervous about because Kyle's asleep. He had night shift last night. He would wake up and look after William if I asked him to, but if this is the real thing and I am going into labour, I do need him well rested so he can look after me. Hopefully William will be distracted with the YouTube and we'll go from there. Yeah, let's just see what happens. Little man's just rugged up with his teddy, his dummy, his favourite blanket and YouTube while mummy gets monitored for baby. Just leaving the hospital now. It's 11 o'clock. I've been getting monitored for a couple of hours now. My obstetrician has come in to see me and the fluid levels have dropped even further now with the baby. So I am going into the hospital tonight to be induced. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared, but it's okay. It's the best thing. She just needs to come out. I've got to go wake up Kyle now and tell him the news. Alright, Will, come say goodbye to mummy, please. Mummy's going to go to the hospital.
We'll make you train. We'll make you train track.
No. Come on. Okay, bye. See you later.
Okay.
Come here. I love you.
Okay.
So much.
Yeah.
You gonna be a big brother tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah? Come on, more cuddle.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. I love you very much. You be a good boy for Nanny?
Oh, that's fun.
You want the water on?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't care. Say bye, sister.
The ball in the air. As Jordan to go in. Collingwood, son of Collingwood. Get number 8.
We've just got everything out of the car. We're about to walk in and start this induction. You excited? It's Kyle's 30th birthday today, so sorry honey, your daughter's already taken over your shadow. So we're currently in the labour ward. I am being monitored at the moment. The baby's looking pretty good. Kyle's just sitting on the chair watching the football because he is we all are, a Collingwood supporter, and the Anzac Day match is on. But yeah, it's just crazy to think that I'm going to be induced in like half an hour.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. He's gotta be dropped. He's gotta be dropped.
Happy, babe? It's just past 7 o'clock and I'm getting monitored again. I've just had a balloon catheter inserted into my cervix, and the aim of that is to try and dilate me to 4 centimeters overnight. I am currently 2.5 centimeters dilated, and then in the morning I think at about 7:30 they're going to break my waters and start me on some Syntocin drip. I think that's what it's called. I'm just having some cramping after that procedure has been done, but they tell me that's normal and it should drop off. This shouldn't put me into labour, it's just getting my cervix dilated. I'm not gonna lie, I am so nervous. Like, I've been shaking this afternoon. I'm that nervous about tomorrow, but I need to get off that train of thought and do some meditation and just like really welcome this, because if I go into this scared, then it won't end well. Good morning, guys. It is the 26th of April, probably around, I don't know, 6:45 in the morning. After having the balloon put in yesterday, I was like literally having contractions every 10 minutes. They were really tough, but I got into a good routine and I got into a good like positioning and all that sort of stuff. Feeling really refreshed and revived and excited to meet my daughter today. It also semi-nervous. I just went to the toilet to do a wee and my balloon catheter just fell out, so I'm hoping I'm like 4 to 5 centimeters dilated because there was so much water in that thing. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna brush my teeth and get everything ready to go to the labour ward, and then Kyle's just gone to Macca's to get a coffee, and then my waters are gonna get broken in about 40 minutes and labour's gonna begin. Ooh, gonna meet my baby. It's time to come out, my darling. William's about to meet the baby.
Hi! Jeez! Where's Mum? Where's Dad? Where's Mum? Where's Dad?
Where's your sister?
You ready?
Let me get for the cameras. There you go. Oh.
Is that Will?
Here's your sister.
Do you love her?
You want to touch your hand?
Oh my goodness.
You want to take a photo? Quickly?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. That's fine. Oh, what's she got? A sore on her belly, Will.
Nappy on.
She got a little sore on her belly. That's fine.
Can you take a photo?
Do you love her, Will?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
It's okay.
yeah.
Take her head forward.
She's a bit cold, sweetie, so we got to put her hat on.
Will. Hello.
Hello.
Will.
This is mine.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Is she your sister?
Mine.
Yeah, she's
Give your
yours.
sister a kiss.
Oh, you are a good boy, Will.